if you've been following my channel, you know that I created my own spelling program based off the spelling list from McGuffey's Eclectic Spelling Book, the revised edition. And this is really doing a lot for our study of the English language. But I thought you might want to see some little spelling goodies, little spelling extra, some other resources that have influenced my creation of this program and that might benefit you to kind of take a look at, and especially if you want to create your own spelling program. I have some alternative ideas about spelling practice that I was just going to share with you today. Using books, I'll go through some stuff from the Eclectic Spelling Book, some of the words in here, because they have some good word lists, but I know I've talked about Uncovering the Logic of English before, and it's a good read, not too long. I would just read it if I would, and then I would just start using it if you can, just put it into practice. On Teachers Pay Teachers, somebody actually made little flashcards that go along with all her spelling rules. So she has a list of spelling rules she's put in here. I think it's 31, but some of them are broken down into smaller multiple pieces. So I did buy these printed on cardstock and put them in my boys' spelling folders. So they have that. And then another little goodie that goes along with this resource. See how I just clip it into their folder. But I gave you guys my own little notes that I had taken. I had made my own, I looked up syllable division patterns and stuff like that. And spelling patterns here. Just so people had something. But this is definitely more of them. And these were I think these were pretty cheap. I can't remember. A couple of dollars. But you get the PDF. You could print a set for each of your kids if that was helpful. Also, on the Logic of English website, you can buy this PDF. Don't be confused, because I accidentally bought this first. I bought the an actual printed pamphlet with their phonogram and spelling rules. And it was like $10 plus $4 for shipping. And then I realized there was a PDF for 99 cents, but it wasn't. It was listed separately. You would have thought it was you'd have two options for the same product, but Logic of English, their website, I'll try to link all this stuff for you down below in case you're interested, has this printable PDF, and I just printed it off and put it in both my kids' files or spelling folders as well. So it's got the how to add a suffix to any word, right? They've got that listed out here. All right, and then here's some stuff that I think is useful for everyone to know. It was not taught to me in school, so I had to learn it for the first time. A phonogram, right? Phono is sound, gram is writing, right? So sound writing, that's what we would call a letter or letters that represent a single sound, right? So we have only 26 letters in the alphabet, but we have in English, I think it's 75 phonograms. So, you have your single letter phonograms, which is just A through Z, but also, some letters have multiple sounds, right? Like all the vowels. And then some consonants too, like C can say K and S, right? G can say G and J. I think it's good for kids to know that. And if you've seen my videos before, I'm teaching them, as I teach them, I just teach them all the sounds that the letter can make. I just teach them this is the most common sound and these are other sounds it can make. Using my Mop Media flashcards, Q always has a U after it. Here's an RH, right? SC says SH, right? So I just think it's nice to have this here. And then if you look at how she has it laid out over here, I don't know if you can see into my little thing, my little magnifying glass, but for EA it's going to be in order of how frequently it's used. EA usually says long E, right? And then secondly it says and the least common way, but still is used as a long A. And then it gives you over here example words such as eat, bread, and steak. I think these are helpful. And then there's the single letters, right? It shows you A says A, E. Although my RC card also gives I as a sound for E, and they gave the example of the word pretty, Pretty, pretty. Maybe that's just, maybe they don't put it in there because they think of that more as an exception. I don't know. I think maybe that's one of those words that maybe it was pronounced pretty, but our accents have changed maybe, but the spelling stays the same, you know. Here's I is a bunch. It says I, I, E, and Y can say I also. So when you see the little slants, little slashes, it means sounds like, and then the sound is in there. But they do give some diacritical marks in here, and I think this is, if you wanted to, I know in my spelling packets, I say to use diacritical marks, and you just pick whatever kind of, just be consistent however you guys choose to do it. But here's a nice little cheat sheet right here for some of the diacritical marks. Like if there's not a mark, say, for hard, or for K, or maybe there's not a mark for S as a Z sound, maybe, you could just write, you know, /Z/ sounds like Z, right? So just be consistent. I think I've mentioned before, the other way that I've marked stuff is how McGuffey was marking it. He calls it substitute, table of substitutes here. Table of vocal, short sounds, diphthongs. They don't have marks really, because they make a new sound, right? Can you see that? See how they've got diacritical marks on things? So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could just maybe find this in the public domain and blow it up. Maybe make it bigger, and I try to print it bigger, or, you know, just have your kids refer to this when they're marking stuff. So anyways, they've got a lot of stuff. I think this is so convenient, and I like things that are colored, like when they break things out into different colors so you know what's related. And then here's the spelling rules, which they can fit them all onto one page, which I think makes it not so overwhelming. It's like, oh, it's all right here on one page. Sometimes I think this is a little bit harder because you're like flipping through, like, which one is it? So I do like to have things just laid out so I can easily kind of look and see which ones. Okay, so those were just some goodies having to do with the logic of English. If you wanted to base your spelling program around her rules, right? Like, without buying her whole, because she actually has a whole spelling curriculum. You know, there's like foundations, and then there's like essentials. And I have tried, because I liked this book a lot and stuff, and I liked her rules and everything. I have watched so many videos, ones that she's given, because, you know, she's like, I think she's a teacher, and she teaches teachers. They do trainings. And oh my gosh, she has this whole curriculum, and I've tried to watch like homeschoolers that use it, and I don't know how else to say it. I have like a physical, like visceral rejection to this program, because people will like, it is so many things, because it's actually an all-encompassing, I think, like it's like reading and like spelling and like all the, oh my gosh, though it's like so much more than I wanted. All I wanted, I already am happy with the way, I already have my own teaching plan for like reading and writing and composition, stuff like that. I just wanted to like to sharpen up our spelling and study our language a little bit more. And so I don't know if you're like me and you're like, if I see like all these plethora of books and readers and tiles, like I literally feel a little bit sick. I get nauseated feeling, and I have to turn it off. I don't know. Clutter stresses me out pretty bad. So I want to simplify things. I want less, not more. So I like that if I can pull what I like, you know, they say, eat the fish, spit out the bones. I just feel like teachers, like professional teachers, just can really overcomplicate things because they like that stuff. And I'm like, no. So I like this, and I've got a weekly packet, and I can put literally everything I need in this folder, and which I love this folder. I'll link it down below. Everything's secure in here. I can add in my own stuff I want to add in here. I've got my spelling flashcards with my spelling words. I can put these up here. This is kind of fun for if after you analyze your spelling words and you identify what spelling rules and like what phonics rules that you see, because really that's what our spelling is. Really, it's phonetic and has like grammar rules to it, right? So it's a complex language. So maybe once you analyze it, then pull out the cards that match with it, because then they're kind of fun. You can actually put out those like on the table or the floor, and then you take out your spelling list words and you can just like sort them, right? And that's kind of a nice tactile, kinesthetic kind of activity for the kids to do. Where was I? Oh yes, I wanted to talk to you about analyzing your spelling words. So let's say you've got your spelling list, like this is our, second grade or second level spelling lists. Something that I like to have them do before, without even like really looking at this stuff, is and you could do this, like I had out the daily dictation if you want to do it daily or like once a week or twice a week or whatever. And you can have them do it on this. Lately what I've been doing is having my kids work on a dry erase envelope, and then I'll dictate the word. So let's try it. I want to show you how we kind of do an initial spelling analysis. I think I mentioned this on like spelling day 1 when I was doing my spelling packet videos, but I didn't really go into depth about how we do the spelling analysis. I was like, just talk about it and then, identify your spelling patterns and stuff. But I didn't really go into how we do that. So I was going to try to do that now. So let's just say we had a word like lime. So first I'd dictate it, right? I'd say lime, and I'd have the kids count out the phonemes that they hear. We have lime. I heard 3 lime. So I'd go I. So I have the kids, usually they're writing on a piece of paper or like on this. And then we're like, let's talk about what we hear. So we heard L, we know that's an L, I, most likely an I, right? But we know this would say limb, right? Because that'd be a CVC word. This would be a closed syllable word. And so how do we make this I long? Because it's actually a long I. Well, we know we have to add a silent E, right? We add that bossy E at the end. And we might like go inch, it's silent, right? Then I might take, this is a single syllable word, but we're going to mark the consonants. First we're going to mark the vowels, right? And I don't hear any other vowel, right? Because that one's silent. And then you don't have to mark consonants before the vowel, but just anything that would come after it. Vowel, consonant, right? And we know this is only we only hear one vowel sound, so it only has one syllable. If this is a 1-syllable word, we have a bossy E, we have a long I, right? I like to kind of note that. There's no blends or anything like that. So we just analyzed this word pretty well, right? And you can refer to like your spelling list and stuff. This spelling envelope doesn't erase the best. Okay, anyway, so next word, let's try a longer word. Let's say we had a word like dishpan. Dishpan. So I'd say, okay, what do you hear? We hear ish. I have the kids say it slowly. Ish, p, and. They heard 6 sounds, right? Ish, p, and. Right? Okay. Then we're going to go. We heard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 phonemes we heard. What are the phonograms that correspond? Well, d would be D, short I, sh. So it's one sound, and that's actually a diphthong, right? Dish, p, and dishpan. Correct? Good. There's another and. It's another short A. We like to mark that too, right? Right away, the kids will probably know that this is dishpan, 2 words, that is a compound word. And if they don't know that, just teach them 2 words that are scooted together to make 1 word are called compound words. Different than contractions, but we're not dealing with contractions right now. Okay, So now we are going to circle. Go ahead and circle the vowels. This one's longer, so right? So circle the vowels. P, I, A, right? And we'll mark those vowels. Then people like to do this, kind of connect, because all you're really worried about is what comes between the vowels. This is for syllable division. So what do I hear? I hear the sh. That's a consonant sound. P, consonant sound. So most of the time you're gonna, kids will kind of know, dish, pan. They can pretty clearly hear the syllables, like where they are, and they can tell those are two separate words that they recognize, but what if they didn't for whatever reason, right? Well, then we would point to the division pattern of vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel. Usually you divide up the consonant sounds. So since this is considered, I consider this one sound, one consonant sound. Okay, it's not, I wouldn't call this vowel, consonant, 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 because this is, you don't hear two sounds, you hear one new consonant sound. So we know we're going to divide it there, right? This is syllable 1, and this is syllable 2. Let's look at syllable 1. What if we were like, what kind of syllable is this? It is a closed syllable, actually. So we've got closed syllable, because we know closed syllables have a vowel followed by a consonant that closes the syllable, and it's really convenient that C for closed. And that makes the vowel is short, right? So this one also, now we're gonna look at this one. So it's got a short vowel, and actually there is a consonant after it. And so this is also a closed syllable, right? We've got a vowel and then a consonant, and the vowel is short, right? So VC or CVC, these were CVC words, on their own. So now we would also say, what did we see in this word? It was a compound word, so it's two words. It was VC, CV, division pattern, and we had closed syllables, and we had short vowels. Is this helpful? Why do we even need to do all this syllable division stuff, right? I don't think you have to do it for every single word, but this is how I think about our language. This is a word. Let's say this is a word. Okay? This is a metaphor for spelling. This paperweight is a word. If I only look at it from one angle, could I reproduce it? Could I draw it? Would it be like accurate if I only saw it from this angle? Or if I pick it up, if I look at it from every single angle, do I better understand what this thing is, what it looks like, and how it functions? I just feel like I think that spelling and language is the same. I want to pick up English and look at it, examine it from every angle I can. And I want to teach my kids how to do that as well. And it's kind of fun, you guys. Honestly, it's fun. So anyways, there's a bunch of syllable division. Not a bunch, okay. I think there's a couple. There's like 7 types of syllables and syllable division patterns. So there's 7 syllable types: closed, open, consonant, LE, bossy silent E, R-controlled syllables, vowel teams, also called vowel digraphs, and diphthongs. So it's not that many to teach your kid. And there are resources out there that walk you through like kind of training for this. I actually did buy one. I want to say it was like $15. And I just went through it with my kids. Like we were all learning together. I'll show it to you. Okay, so I'm not saying that you like have to do this or anything. It's just something I did because I wanted to really be confident that I understood what I was doing, especially since I was like making YouTube videos about it. It's like I don't want to be completely winging it or anything, right? So I was like, I'm gonna take the time and train myself. This is a teacher learning at the primary pond, and she's a literacy specialist. And I like her resources. So I printed out this printable PDF. I divided it up into lessons. I want to say maybe like 15. So what is a syllable? It literally tells you, she gives you a script. She says, say to students, I'm going to say the syllables or parts of a word. You tell me the whole word. Ready? Then you could choose someone's name. So I chose the name like so Everett, right? So I'd said Rhett. And I say, what's the whole name? They said Everett, right? It was somebody that they knew. Anyway, so it gives you, it has some of these, and these are really simple. Again, I like to take these things out and just slip them into envelopes to do most of them, because a lot of things you don't have to cut up, especially if you have multiple kids and you're like, I don't want to have to keep reprinting. You can modify a lot of stuff and just do it in like an envelope or something, and you don't have to necessarily do the cutting out stuff, but you can. Then it talks about compound words. Then I got a lesson on inflectional endings and glued sounds. So ed, ed can say t or ed or d, kind of, Glued sounds like ng and nk. How to break a word into its syllables. So you just saw me do that. Anyway, so I thought this was a bossy E and VCV words. The magic E syllable type. I don't know, if you're interested in this, I think, in really letting your kids go a little bit deeper with our language. And I kind of hate just to call it spelling, because this also is helpful. I think it's really helpful for reading as well. But like, I don't know how to separate reading from spelling. They're just two sides of the same coin, right? But spelling is harder, So I do study the syllables. It just gives you a better understanding. And, I like to throw in some etymology and stuff like that, but I built that into my packet. Something else that has influenced my thinking about teaching spelling is this book, How to Teach English Spelling. It says, including the spelling rules and 151 spelling lists. So if you wanted to use a different source for, like I just used the words in this because I liked all the diacritical marks. I liked the groupings and stuff. And it was dead cheap. Dead cheap or free, depending on where you get it. This book it's not going to break the bank or anything, but he has, like, I don't know, this might be my second place to start just for being friendly for teaching, because he goes over the basics. Part 1 is markers, like soft and hard C, combinations using C, the silent E, U, and V, the following R. So he goes by these patterns. Again, he's delving into phonics and spelling patterns. He's hilarious. He says, spelling is the unloved stepchild of the English language. Students hate to study it. Teachers are frustrated when they teach it. Parents are angry about it. And experts write long, useless articles about it. It's like so true. Anyway, so then why he wrote the book, because, we're obviously having a real literacy crisis in our country, and we have been for a long time. He was educated in England, he says, where his father was a journalist and his mother had taught English, and then went to the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. He said his first teaching experience was in a one-room school in the far north. This school was in a village that consisted of a store, a service station, and half a dozen small houses. He's so interesting. He had 28 students that lived in shacks and cabins. I'm assuming he means the UK, I guess, probably Scotland or something up there. Talks about the spelling rules. He says, for many years I reasoned that there must be rules that govern English spelling. The problem as I saw it was that few experts agreed that such rules even existed, so the rules were not taught to the teachers who did not teach them to their students. Correct. English is now the most widely used language in the world. Somewhere between 500 million and 1 billion people on every continent use it every day. There must be some form of general agreement how words are spelled. Otherwise, there would be linguistic chaos. Over time, this general agreement has become a series of spelling rules. For historic reasons, the English language contains an extraordinary variety of words, many with strange letter combinations that can produce a bewildering range of sounds. Yet almost all of these sounds are subject to the spelling rules. There is a logical pattern to the spelling of most English words. Remember, probably the ones that aren't logical are the ones that are of foreign origin that we have that have been snowballed into our language. He says, notice that I said most English words. There are exceptions to many of the spelling rules, but when we compare them to the number of words that do indeed follow the rules, the exceptions are surprisingly few. English spelling is a bit like chess. A student who tried to play chess without knowing the rules and knowing how each piece moves would be understandably frustrated. Our students are intelligent and curious. They want to know the how and the why of English spelling. They're eager to know the rules. That's true. I believe it. Noah Webster and syllabification. So for many generations, spelling was taught primarily by memorization. The student was given a list of words, and the teacher offered either a reward or punishment to persuade the student to memorize the words. Nobody thought to improve on this crude carrot and stick approach until late in the 18th century when Noah Webster published his famous American spelling book, commonly called the Blueback Speller, in 1788. So Webster was a practical man. He was a lawyer before he became a teacher. He was very logical. He started with words of one syllable and gradually introduced longer and more complex words. He also broke all the words into syllables. So you see, this guy, who is this? John Fulford. He's into the syllables too. Linguists have names like morpheme and phoneme for the various units of sound that make up syllables. Yeah, don't let the lexicon around spelling discourage you. Like, you'll pick it up. There's not that many. So second, an emphasis on pronouncing each syllable correctly is the best way to improve the student's diction. If the student pronounces the word correctly, he or she will have less trouble spelling the word. I think that's why you see so much emphasis on enunciation in the McGuffey books. I think he was in that same school of thought, right? It says it should be remembered that at the time that Noah Webster's first dictionary, a compendious dictionary of the English language, appeared in 1806, North America and much of Europe were undergoing what is called the Industrial Revolution. North America was absorbing a flood of immigrants from all parts of Europe, many of them uneducated and most of them speaking another language. At the same time, the urban areas of England were also being flooded by poorly educated people from rural areas looking for work. In both North America and England, a common form of communication in English was essential. It might be impossible for all these people to speak alike, but at least they could all read alike. Like, we all speak, like, it's so cool that I can read this and some guy over in Scotland who I couldn't understand if we were talking to each other, we could, like, both read this and understand it, right? So phonics, or the whole word. Much has been written on the problem of teaching spelling, and numerous experts have produced various theories. The most vocal experts are the supporters of phonics. A French mathematician named Blaise Pascal introduced the concept of phonics in 1655, and the system has been popular ever since. Unfortunately, fewer than 50% of our words come from the Anglo-Saxon, which was a phonemic language. It's the other 50% that contain those strange and irritating spellings that confuse the student. Phonics is an important part of teaching reading and spelling, but it is not and never can be the whole solution. Oh, it says more literate students no longer need to sound out each individual word. They have reached the stage of word recognition and can read a sentence at a glance or scan a whole paragraph using context, syntax, and grammar as a guide to meaning. Very good readers can read a paragraph silently faster than they can speak it aloud. That's true. It does take much longer to read aloud. It says, in actual practice, we use both methods to learn to spell. With beginners, we start with phonics, concentrate on the sounds of individual letters, and use single-syllable words, gradually increasing the difficulty. Whenever a new word is introduced, we persuade the student to break it into syllables and sound it out. Eventually, the student will recognize the word and not need to sound it out. He or she may even anticipate some words because the context of the sentence or the subject. Yeah. He said, let me take a guess how you learned to spell. You probably learned the way I learned and the way my father learned, and perhaps even my grandfather. 20 words on Monday and a spelling test on Friday. Yep. There is nothing wrong with this method. It allows the teacher to keep a reasonably accurate record of the student's progress and have something concrete to show a parent. The weakness in this method lies in choosing those 20 words. So many teachers just go along with the spelling book traditionally used in their school. They use the spelling list for that week, no matter what words it contains, and spend very little time explaining the spelling. This is the worst approach. Yeah, you just expecting the kids to just like memorize them somehow magically over the course of the week, right? Other teachers are forced to use spelling lists that are either mandated by administrators or a part of a commercially produced reading program. This program usually consists of a large publisher. This program usually consists of a teacher's manual, textbooks, and supplemental material sold to a school or school district by a large publisher. Yeah, all that stuff makes me want to vomit. I'm not even joking. They are popular with administrators because they usually include standardized tests, which in theory can be used to map a student's progress. They are also visually attractive and extremely lucrative for the publisher. In those reading programs, however, spelling is often given short shrift. The emphasis is on reading, and no attention is paid to spelling rules. In fact, the authors of the programs rarely mention that spelling rules exist. When a chapter does include a spelling list, the words are usually based only on the reading assignment. They offer very little help for the students struggling with spelling. Yes, sir, I am with you on this. Okay, let's continue. Another popular approach is to choose words that the students are having difficulty with. While this sounds like a good idea, it tends to limit the students' vocabulary. If they stick with words they're familiar with, there will be little to no new word acquisition. Also, the students are probably having difficulty with a word because of its strange spelling. Unless the spelling is carefully explained, they will continue to have difficulty with that word. When students have difficulty with a word, this is an excellent opportunity to introduce synonyms and antonyms. Finding another word that is similar or opposite in spelling or meaning is excellent for word acquisition. They will quickly learn the technical terms for such words. This is also an opportunity to introduce them to the thesaurus, right? I do that in our vocabulary packets, for sure. Warning, do not attempt to cover everything in just one school year. Choose carefully those elements that you believe your students can handle. 2. Do not attempt to teach every word in the word lists. These lists are designed for all teaching levels and contain words ranging from simple everyday words to words that even well-educated adults often find challenging. So that's something I think is really cool about this book as a home for homeschoolers, because we may have multiple ages and we could be covering with our kids the same spelling rule. And we could use different words, though. And he has the lists for you, right? So maybe we wanted to teach them the soft and hard C, which coincidentally is the same first spelling rule from Logic of English. Just so. I mean, you might be able to use these, spelling rules that I showed you, the printed out PDF and then, the cards from Teachers Pay Teachers. You may be able to use them in conjunction with this book if you wanted to build a spelling program using this. So there's the spelling rule, a soft C. The C is soft when it is immediately followed by the vowels E, I, and Y. And they gave the example, scent, cinder, cylinder. So C, list 1. So this is list 1. See how long it is? Right? So if I was going to use this, if I wanted to teach both my kids, and I do believe it is helpful to explicitly teach these spelling rules to your kids. I just don't expect my 2nd and 6th grader even to really dig in and study spelling rules without a little bit of modeling. So list 1, you could create a list. You could say, for my 1st grader, it's just going to be the top 2 in each, right? So those 8 words for my 2nd grader or something, right? And then maybe for my 6th grader, it goes down to, I don't know, here, right? We'd say, this is going to be your word list. See what I mean? And you could give the same lesson. We could do the same spelling analysis. So we could say, okay, we're going to walk through a few words. First word is sell. It's spelled S-E-L, right? And then we'd say, all right, so first you heard a S. And we might just tell them up front, this is going to be a lesson on soft C. So when you hear, sounds like S, write a C down, right? So they might be, okay, I heard S. I'm going to write S-E-L, right? And we're like, yeah, that does say sell, but this actually also follows the floss rule, or F-L-S-E-Z, floss rule. And you may just explain that when a short vowel in a single syllable word is followed by F-L-S or Z, you typically double it. But you could just tell them that, but what we're studying here is the soft C, okay? And you could have a market, you could do market like this, sounds like S, or you could do the little mark to show that it's a soft C. I believe hard C's are typically marks like that. So yeah, you could just have them go through and practice those using his lists. He gives examples with CE, CI, and CY. So this is CE at the beginning, and this is CE at the end of a word. Cool, huh? So there are almost no exceptions to this rule except some scientific words like, I cannot read those words, but they start with a hard C, I'm assuming. All right, so he gives you some notes. Cello, C-E-L-L-O, is an Italian word and begins with the ch sound. Arced is the past tense of arc and has the k sound. Zinked, zinking, behave the same as arc. Celt is a Gaelic word, pronounced Celt. And mic is the short word for microphone, is pronounced mic. Okay, so anyways, you could go based off of his spelling lists. And I do like that you could level it for different kids. So you could just go through, you could do, I was really torn between actually using this and these lists and the McGuffey spelling book. Except that I felt like this McGuffey spelling book, was giving me a little bit more with breaking up the syllables and the diacritical marks. So this made it easier for them to check those days assignments that were in my spelling packet that I wanted them to know how to do. Which is why ultimately I went with this one. But I'm heavily influenced by this book, right? And also gives you more words. And it does list out the spelling rules. The thing is about spelling is that there's, like you saw in the word cell, there was a phonics rule there, right? The soft C rule, but there's usually more than one spelling pattern within a word. Do you know what I mean? This is why I think that spelling really needs explicit instruction, because the kids don't know the spelling rules yet. They're not experienced readers. They won't automatically. I don't want to not teach the floss rule with the word cell, because it's left them wondering, why is there two L's, not just one, there is a reason, and I might as well give it to them. But maybe that it's secondary to what they're teaching, because you will get to that rule. Let's see, what does he call it? Let me see if I can find it in here. So he will get to that, I'm sure, the floss rule. The purpose of a double consonant is to warn us that the preceding vowel is short and the accent usually falls on the preceding syllable, such as alley. It's alley. The accent is on the al, or E, it's littler. But alley, ballot, ballet. So when adding a suffix, double the final consonant only if the word ends in a single consonant preceded by a short vowel and the suffix is a vowel suffix. I just think if you just try to read spelling rules, it sounds like blah, 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 wah, 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 wah. Does it sound like that to you? Wah, wah, wah. So you actually have to get in there and study it and sometimes reverse engineer it. I like to look at the word and be like, why are there two L's in wallaby? And then look at it. That's why I like to analyze the word and have the kids what do we hear? And then maybe look at the spelling and try to figure out, why is it spelled that way? What is the spelling rule that dictates that spelling? Kind of working it in reverse versus, this is the rule. Here are some words. Do you know what I mean? Give them the word and then figure out the rules and patterns. I don't know. To me, that makes... I don't get the wah, 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 wah sound that I just kind of space out. Once I get a question in my mind wants to hunt down that answer. So, if my mind works like that, kids are just younger adults. Anyways, so I don't know. This was kind of a long, rambling, spelling video. What are our takeaways? The takeaways are, the logic of English has a bunch of spelling rules, and they're a little bit more accessible because there's a resource for printing out the cards. You can order the cards, but the TPT ones are cheaper. And they have a PDF that's only 99 cents that you can get right away. You can analyze the words with your kids, kind of work through that. And you'll be learning too, So don't think that you can't do it. Just do it with your kids. It's kind of like a game, especially if you let them have dry erase cards and stuff. My kids love this. This is like a game. If you want to have something hold your hand a little bit more about syllable, division, it's okay to teach your kids. I know a lot of us are going for independent learners. It's okay to show them that part of independent learning is finding a resource that supports that whatever goal you're working towards and to use it. This is part of independent learning too. Sometimes we have to model it for them. So yeah, I went through, I think 2 lessons with my kids yesterday. One's 7, one's 11. And I gave them both, their own little envelope to write on. And we just went through it. It was kind of fun. We did some stuff on the board. And I don't expect them to have it perfectly mastered, but repetition, right? So we kind of learn this, and I walk it through. I'm kind of learning it with them. And then they're doing it in their different assignments for our weekly packet. This is my 2nd graders, but so like maybe the first day, and you can analyze those words like right on your page too. You could do it on the first line. That could be your word analysis, and then you give them the correct spelling, right? And then they just copy it a couple more times. Work with breaking things into syllables this day. We are going to go back to what we learned the first day. What are the spelling patterns, and sort them. And then you have a test day, right? And you can do any spelling dictation any day you want to see how they're coming along. This is just how I tie all this stuff together. And then another good way is to play the spelling word hangman. This is another way, I call it a word study, but because I incorporate more than just breaking it into syllables and syllable types and vowel types. I also incorporate a simple definition on the part of speech, because I really want, and then of course the hanging people part is fun, but because I want to take that word and turn it absolutely from every angle. I want to completely understand. I want the kids to understand our language. I want them to be able to play with it and be familiar with it. And everything fits back into a folder. And I don't have 1 bazillion curriculum books and workbooks and readers, and I'm just honestly nauseated thinking about it. Okay, you guys, there you have it. All right.